The motives of Shashank seem to have been both misunderstood and exaggerated, as uprooting of, to quote, the Bodhi tree may have been an economic move against the Buddhist hierarchy of Magad, as presents from all over the world, the Buddhist world, were offered at the Bodhi tree, unquote. Moreover, as all of Shashank's persecuting acts took place away from his own kingdom, it may be argued that his object was not so much to extirpate Buddhist heresy as to take the wind out of the sails of his own Buddhist subjects by destroying Bodh Gaya's sacred tree. The concept of a state religion being foreign to the Indian mind, it would be unhistorical to assign any perceptible part of the decline to the withdrawal of patronage by rulers. The building of a monastery was an act of individual inclination. It does not appear that in any period of the history of ancient India, the Sangha throve anywhere merely on royal patronage or declined just because the patronage was withdrawn. Most of the monasteries were not only built by wealthy lay devotees, but they had also humble origins and grew in stages. The hypothesis of decline of Buddhism due to the withdrawal of royal patronage is also contradicted by the fact that Brahmanical Hinduism survived during the medieval period of Indian history. Revival of Brahmanical Hinduism and the rise of Bhakti movement. Though numerically speaking, Buddhism remained a small religion in India, even during its best days, institutional Buddhism came to acquire the character of a pan-Indian and politically significant religion from the time of King Ashoka. Under such circumstances, the Brahmanical Brahmins, for their own survival, responded by formulating a well thought out two-pronged agenda. To be purposely agreeable and assimilative towards those issues in Buddhism which had become socio-religiously commonsensical, to slowly and steadily but systematically subvert institutional Buddhism. This is clearly visible in the shifting of the theories and political orientation of kingship from Buddhist to Vaishnava and Shaiva rationales. Before the 8th century, the Buddha was accorded the position of a universal deity, and the ceremonies by which a king attained status were elaborate donative ceremonies entailing gifts to Buddhist monks and the setting up of a symbolic Buddha in a stupa. However, this pattern changed in the 8th century when generally the Brahmanical Hindu god Vishnu, but sometimes also Shiva and Surya, the sun, usurped the place of the Buddha as the supreme imperial deities. At about the same time, the Puranas had declared the Buddha as an avatar of Vishnu. The device of Vishnu avatars was an ingenious and convenient means used to assimilate and then to subordinate the figure of the Buddha and put him in his Brahmanical place, thereby undermining his historicity by making him an appendage of the Vaishnava mythic hierarchy. The adoption of Buddhist concepts of spiritual merit consisting of egalitarianism, love and self-sacrifice by bhakti brought Buddhism within the striking range of Brahmanical Hinduism, and as a result, Bhakti movement was able to supervene upon Buddhism to a great degree. When the Bhakti element became fully grown and well settled, theological and devotional ideas and even names became nearly same in the two traditions. For instance, Avalokiteshwar is depicted with lotus in his hand, just as Vishnu and the name Padam Pani, lotus handed, began to be used for Vishnu and Avalokiteshwar alike. Anand Bhattacharya says that the elaborate growth of Mahayana was a triumph of bhakti cult. Buddhism failed to respond meaningfully to the threat posed by bhakti. Further, with its association with Ram and Krishna, the bhakti cult achieved tremendous popularity and weaned away the fickle-minded lay supporters of the Buddhists. The precarious situation became further aggravated for Buddhism with the depiction of the Buddha as nothing more than another avatar of Vishnu. Brahmanical Hinduism, with its institutional base in the temple-centered agrarian settlements, grew into a dynamic and progressive force, whereas Buddhism still continued to be urban and elitist. Consequently, the agrarian clans became rich and powerful, and Brahmanism returned with a renewed vigor along with its institutional base in the temples that were supported by agrarian settlements. In fact, the ideology of bhakti acted as a unifying force by bringing together kings, Brahmins, priests, and the common masses to the disadvantage of the non-Vedic religions such as Buddhism. In the early medieval South Indian feudal society, Brahman-peasant alliance inspired by bhakti appears to have succeeded in forming the basis of socio-political power to the complete disadvantage of Buddhism. The bhakti movement took over from Buddhism in devotionalism, its sense of the transitoriness of the world, its concepts of human worthlessness, its suppression of desires and asceticism, as also its ritual, the worship of idols, temples, pilgrimages, fasts and monastic rules, love and compassion for animals, and its idea of the spiritual equality of all castes. The assimilation and appropriation of these ideas into Puranic theology was the achievement of the celebrated Shaiva and Vaishnava saints of South India, who flourished between the 7th and the 12th centuries. In northern India too, remnants of Buddhism can be seen in the egalitarianism of the medieval bhakti movements. Though there were negligible direct attacks by Brahmanical Hinduism on Buddhism, and on the whole, ancient and medieval Indian society was free of religious persecution, with the passage of time, socio-political situation turned unfavorable to Buddhism. Revived and reinvigorated Brahmanical Hinduism slowly and steadily but systematically succeeded in subverting institutional Buddhism. Brahmanical Hinduism also appears to have been purposely agreeable and assimilative towards those issues in Buddhist worldview which had become socio-religiously commonsensical. As a part of this agenda, Brahmanical Hinduism not only overarched Buddhism but also adopted the Buddha as one of the incarnations of Vishnu, pushing him to a situation whereby he lost cultic veneration completely. In this success story, Bhakti movement must be given major share in the credit for having forged peasant-Brahman alliance to the complete disadvantage of Buddhism. Thank you very much.